Hey, what's good, self-direct investors? I hope you're all doing great, and I want to welcome you back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jordan, and I'm the mind behind Make More Capital, and today we're going to do a quick recap of this week in cannabis from December 20th to the 27th. Now, before we jump in, if you enjoy this video or you learn something, all I ask is that you leave a thumbs up on the video, as it really helps out my channel, and I would appreciate it. And then, of course, if you see the end of Prohibition as being a great investment opportunity, which no doubt it is, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any new episodes. And if you've not been paying attention to the industry whatsoever, I'd recommend going back and watching the series I made called Reality Check Cannabis in 2020. It's an 8-episode educational series about the plant and investing in the industry in general. And then to learn about what's happened over the past few months, then you can follow it up with the episodes of This Week in Cannabis and get all caught up to speed. But this week has been quiet, obviously because of the holidays, so I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and I hope you've been able to spend this time with the people that matter the most to you, and just put this year into perspective, because it's been a shit show. But regardless of the radio silence, we are closer to full-scale U.S. legalization than ever before, and all we as investors have to do is be patient and wait for this Georgia Senate runoff vote to potentially change the world. So let's put this all into context, and just remind us of why this is the best industry to be invested in right now. Now, mergers and acquisition rumors continue, and Todd Harrison, who's a hedge fund manager for CB1 Capital, one of the few people posting relevant content on Twitter related to cannabis, posted this interesting thesis from Raymond James, saying that, to compete with the recent creation of the new merger with Tilray and Aphria, to compete in Canada, it would be wise for Canopy Growth and Village Farms International to consolidate. And it definitely would, because when you look at Canopy, they've got Constellation Brands backing them, they've got the IP, they've got strong marketers and partnerships, although their product doesn't sell well in Canada. And then VFF is right now currently the lowest cost producer, and their product, the wholesale high THC and low cost, is selling very well and eating up more market share. Which again, when you put those two together, would create a competitor for the new Tilray, and just. Yeah, that's why you merge and combine. So this is very interesting, and this comes after the week or strong performance to end the week from Village Farms, where they're trading at about $12 or close to $13 through the whole week, and then they jump up to over $15 sitting there comfortably. And what this does is this puts them over a $1 billion market cap. Now, why would this merger be a good idea? Well, obviously, Aphria is number 1 in Canada in market share, and the number 2 is Redecan. And behind them, you've got Canopy at number 3 and VFF at number 4. So combining 3 and 4 would certainly help compete against the new giant that was recently created, making up about a 17% market share, giving them a more durable spot. Now, again, I don't think they would take it, but it would at least make Canopy relevant in Canada again, because what they're doing now is relying so much on their acreage deal and TerraScent deals, is that if U.S. legalization doesn't happen anytime soon, which is possible, then they'd really have shot themselves in the foot just with putting their money in the wrong places. And what VFF has an advantage here as well is that they are the lowest cost producer currently right now. And they do fill a very good gap in the markets in Canada. So that would be a big thing for Canopy to take advantage of. And lastly, VFF does have greenhouses in Texas. And don't cancel out the fact that they were a vegetable distribution company in the first place, and they only got into the cannabis opportunity because they're Canadian based. So when you consider their entire footprint of Canada, US, and then Mexico, which Mexico also plans to legalize cannabis, or at least pass the bill in February when they resume, it would really put them in a stronger position long term. But what's also funny is that Canopy's only got $1.2 billion left, and Village Farms is now valued at over $1 billion. So, the CEO would probably want a lot more money. This would be a great deal for Canopy to save them, but not necessarily a great deal for Village Farms. Now, what's also interesting is that it appears Canopy is going to desperate lengths to make money. And because they've invested so terribly that they're not making a return on investment in a lot of their operations, they are suing another company claiming patent infringement, which is just cheeky. Now, GW Pharma is a pharmaceutical company based in the UK, but they have, I believe, the only FDA-approved CBD-based drug called Epidiolex. Now, why this is cheeky is that I guess this patent, US patent number 10 million, whatever, covers a method of cannabinoid extracting using carbon dioxide, which Canopy acquired this intellectual property from another company in 2019 for more than $250 million. Now, the fact that this patent was issued to Canopy on Tuesday, Canopy got the patent, and then they decided to file the lawsuit. So it's just what Canopy's doing is like, well, we spent our money on operations that didn't work, so let's buy expensive lawyers that will hopefully get us a good return on investment, win this case, and get us money from GW, who is, been using our patent, but now that we actually own it, we can try to take advantage. So it's a different approach, very interesting, and it's going to cause other cannabis companies to innovate in different ways, because obviously you can't infringe on this for this reason. So it's a funny play, but only Canopy would do this, right? To try and take advantage. So that's interesting. Now, I just want to point out how Mitch is a big piece of shit, just, highlighting that as we have to, because he's actually cheering the lack of cannabis protections in the new COVID bill, which is really sad. Yeah, he's celebrating the fact that it did not have it. Quoted saying, or at least his team put out, from May through December, Democrats held up bipartisan COVID relief for unrelated partisan provisions like tax cuts for wealthy residents of big spending states, federal election mandates, and marijuana studies. Yeah, no, of course. It's not a good idea to allow these legal companies operating in 15 and 38 states in recreational and medical cannabis access to financial services for minority-owned and women-owned cannabis-related businesses. Yeah, no, Mitch, that's terrible. So Mitch is very proud that, hey, at least we got to say no to these two things. And just on top of his dismal, pathetic performance of sending $600 to the American people and then not sending anything else, it's like he's asking to get voted out. And this is why, again, the vote is so important. Literally, if both Democrats win in January in this runoff vote, then Mitch is out of the Senate majority seat. And what's wild to think is that he honestly is the only roadblock stopping cannabis right now. It is only Mitch. Trump doesn't care. He would sign it if it came to his desk. It's literally this evil man who's governing for himself, and probably significantly there's significant campaign money from big pharma, big tobacco, big alcohol that is forcing him to not change his view. That's the only thing that makes sense of it. And I just want to point that out because we'll connect the dots on that later. And again, we look at these polls, not that polls really matter, but Ossoff is down a little bit to Purdue in the first race. Warnock is ahead. Again, I'm going to stop looking at these. I just want to point this out because it is fun to at least refer to and see, have the odds changed? Who knows how accurate this is, but still. The big factor is we just need both Democrats to win, at least for the quickest switch and change of situation or change of law. But the other thing to point out is that, yes, where is it? So there is hope on the horizon, though, even if McConnell stays in his position and the Democrats don't win. And I've mentioned this many times again, but this is, if the Republicans keep control of the chamber, the incoming chair of that panel, Senator Pat Toomey, recently indicated he's open to advancing the proposal. So we're still hopeful on that. If Mitch remains in power. But again, this could change, and that would be huge. And this is why I'm happy to see this kind of a headline, because yes, the Georgia Senate candidate pitches cannabis legalization plan to young voters on TikTok. And this is huge because he's not wrong at all. Now, I just want to show the video here. All right, here we go. And this is how you got to get to the young audience. Get to where they
I'd like to place an order for pickup, please. It's John. Yeah, J as in jobs. O as in over 1.5 million Georgians have voted early in the runoff for U.S. Senate. And if you want to relieve student loan debt, save the environment, legalize marijuana, and increase the minimum wage to $15, you better vote now. And N is for New Civil Rights Act. Hey.
Boom. Now that's a good pitch. Now the main thing I want to point out though is just that, like, hey, I don't trust any politician regardless of what side they're on, but the one good thing that politicians do is advance innovation, because over time this is the discrepancy of having 70-year-olds and 60-year-olds running in Congress and then having these new politicians that are just so important that people are still trying to get these types of jobs. But just to highlight the point of why this vote is so important, look, if you're in Georgia right now, you will control whether cannabis gets legalized or not based on whether you go and vote or not. Like, that's it. And this is a very valid point for him to make. In a recent interview, he recently blasted the hypocrisy of lawmakers who oppose cannabis reform and yet take millions and millions from drug companies that produce highly addictive opioids that ravage the country, and take millions from the alcohol beverages industry where alcohol is more destructive to the human mind and cannabis. That is Mitch McConnell. That is why Mitch McConnell will not change his mind, because he's being paid not to. And this is the most powerful man in America right now, and Ossoff is basically saying exactly why it's so difficult to change things. He's not just for decriminalization, he's for full legalization of cannabis nationwide and the expungement of all records for nonviolent cannabis-related offenses. I'm for that. So if you happen to watch this and you have a big audience, or you know people in Florida, or you can reach them, please send it to them, because this is so important. This vote is coming up, and I just can't wait for it to take place so that we can finally get to the verdict. Now, last thing I wanted to point out is that, hey, we have another state to add to the list of potential adult recreational legalizations in 2021, and Maryland would be it, which is a population of 6 million more people. So that would add, if you saw the last video, I added up all the states that said they consider it in 2021. Included South Carolina, Texas, New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island. This would push that up to about 91 million Americans that would get access to a market that didn't exist, on top of Arizona and New Jersey. So this is huge. Basically lawmakers in Maryland are preparing an adult use cannabis legalization bill in order to pass this and provide jobs, take advantage of the tax revenue. It's a no-brainer at this point, so that's amazing. And the more articles we see like this, and the more stories we see like this coming from mainstream articles, the better. But again, we're just going to... Unfortunately, we can't get everything that we asked for yet. Now, this is another point that I wanted to make out, which is interesting new information, but the DEA might start issuing cannabis cultivation permits in early 2021. Why has the DEA delayed so much in doing anything and making any move? If cannabis is legal, the DEA has no purpose, basically. If you were to end the war on drugs officially and change everything, then the DEA is obsolete. And what's interesting is that when I made my series Reality Check Cannabis in 2020, I discovered that in the 1970, it was when the Federal Bureau of Narcotics, which was the initial the initial bureau led by Harry J. Anslinger that made cannabis legal in the first place. It was the Federal Bureau of Narcotics and a bunch of other agencies that had gone bankrupt. There was no use for them anymore. So it was in 1970 that Richard Nixon, creating the Controlled Substances Act, took the Federal Bureau of Narcotics and others and created the DEA and gave them reason to work now. So it's literally the DEA is the cartel of the government, and the moment that you actually change the laws, the DEA has no purpose. So this is why they're so slow in making any sort of advancement after years of delays. Now it makes more sense, right? When you connect those dots. So it's like, that's why they don't want to do anything. But apparently they're going to start issuing licenses in 2021, as they've been, people are telling them, hey, you got to do something because you guys are an officially useless organization. And what's just sad is that the assessment comes, the assessment comes after the DEA published its final rule to expand the number of federally approved cultivators, at least 3 and as many as 15, which is just crazy. Is that the DEA, a facility at the University of Mississippi is the only approved cannabis supplier for research. And I've read about this place, and the stuff that it produces is like shag cannabis from 1980. It's garbage. Like, why wouldn't you allow research to be done on cannabis that's produced and cultivated in California, where the best bud in the world is grown, right? It makes zero sense. And the good thing is that this has to happen, because at least Congress did approve the recent bill, and the U.S. House of Representatives passed it, calling for more federally approved growers of cannabis research. So I just wanted to point that out and connect the dots, because it makes so much sense now why the DEA obviously wants to make no move and wants to change nothing, because they don't stand to benefit from cannabis legalization. So it's good that at least the Supreme Court is making sure that they're starting to act and make small adjustments to allow this advancement and this innovation to take place. But yeah, it's just sad in the first place. But again, this is good news that the DEA is starting to become more cannabis friendly, and we'll see how that molds in the next few years. And the last thing I wanted to point out was on Reddit, I found this handy document that I wanted to give to you as a gift. I don't know who it comes from. It was posted there, and then when I tried to go back to find it, it was gone. And I don't know if I'm lucky and I got it, but I just wanted to share this with you as like a Merry Christmas gift. And what it has is 10 U.S. multi-state operators. It goes through their diluted share count, market cap, basically their most updated recent numbers, and it seems whoever updates this does it quite recently. And I just want to thank whoever made it. If you ever find this video and you don't want this up here, I apologize. You can message me and I'll take it down. However, this is just fantastic, and I wish I could source and give a shout out to who you are, but I could not find the comment. But what it also has is all of the states where they have either retail licenses and cultivation licenses, and then where they actually have operational retail and cultivation practices and facilities. So it does cover Acreage Holdings, Air Strategies, Columbia Care, and then the big ones, Cresco Labs, Curaleaf, Green Thumb Industries, Harvest Inc., Terra Ascend, TrueLeave, and Vireo Health. So of course, the best way to get exposure is with an ETF into this industry, most likely. And again, just investing in Canada, not many companies are going to make it out alive. So if you're going to get an ETF, stick to the US companies. And again, the more growth is going to come out of the US, especially in the next few years. So, you want to look at which states or what companies have licenses, retail licenses that are operational, and how many of them they have coming online, and how much growth that they can expect to see. But again, I wanted to just show this to you. There will be a link below so that you can download it yourself and do some research and decide which individual companies you might want to get into, because again, the ETF is the easiest way to get growth. But the fact that this industry is growing at a compounded annual growth rate of 33% just means that if you can choose a few individual companies, you will see a lot more growth than if you settle with an exchange-traded fund that invests in a little bit of every single one of them, and that's just how equity works, right? So I just wanted to share this with you as well. There will be a link in the comment as to all the other sources. But folks, I hope you've had a great holidays. Let me know what you think. Are you excited for the vote? Are you nervous? Are you holding through? Did you decide to sell? Let me know what you're doing. I'm going to be holding through the vote, and I'm really just optimistic that with all the change that's come this year, we're going to get the momentum and the change that we need is going to come. But regardless, I want to thank you all for watching, and again, please leave a like if you learned something, please subscribe if you want to learn more, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great day, everybody.